more comfortable you are with naturalness versus propriety, the more growth you will experience in your life. Not that you shouldn't know when a good time to use propriety is versus naturalness, but I would say if you lean a little bit more heavily on naturalness without being, unable to work because you're always so unprofessional, or you can't handle a difficult situation in social communication, a friendship, a community relationship, something like that. But that if you are more geared towards being who you are, more committed to that, you're probably going to have more conflict because people have differences. All people just are going to have differences and tensions between each other. Um, so it feels like that gears you up for a higher growth life, unless it makes you like hermetic or something. Some people can be themselves and then just hang out with like one or two people, and like that's all they want to do. But I guess if you're wanting to interact with a lot of people and be yourself, that's kind of an unusual thing to do, I would almost say.
I think you're right. That's very unusual. I feel like one of the reasons why I hang out with a lot of people, and one of those reasons that I can do that, I think, is because I can um, have some amount of propriety, just to use that word, to be the opposite of naturalness.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also lucky that a lot of the people I hang out with uh, are fairly natural. So it feels like if something if I wanted to be more natural, I could safely. But yeah, that way that you phrase that if the more comfortable you are with naturalness, the more growth you will have in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the complicated part is, yeah, when to use your knowledge of propriety and when to not, and being able to navigate that in all of your conversations, which I would say that I am not somebody who is as comfortable with naturalness as I think maybe you are. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But I do think I have the ability to navigate propriety and pick up on when maybe it should be used and maybe when it doesn't need to be used, and I can be a little bit more natural. So that's sort of helped me get to the growth point of where I am now in my life. And then something that I really like that idea that you said, like that I'm kind of inspired now to get more comfortable with naturalness and think of it as something that simple and
Mm-hmm.
not like this scary thing.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. And I was struck by a comment you almost made as an aside a moment ago. You were like, so I hang out with a lot of people, and you're generally saying you like it to be a safe experience. And you're like, but people are accepting. You said something like, people are accepting when I'm more natural, so it kind of works out. But I
Mm-hmm.
almost don't feel like that can be true. It can happen. There can be people that are more likely to be comfortable with you being natural, people that you're more naturally a fit with, which are probably many of your friends.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I feel like if you slip into being too much yourself, and I don't mean like totally inappropriately so,
Mm-hmm.
like there's a level of just basic courtesy to human beings you're hanging out with socially. Um, I do feel like it naturally brings up differences, whatever differences there are, if you do it long enough. And again, like I'm saying, you could spend time with somebody that really vibes well with who you are, and that's just not going to be a thing as much. But yeah, I almost think it would be very tough for people to accept who you are a very high percentage of the time if you're being like really natural, a large percentage of the time, especially across many different people. So perhaps you could get away with doing it with one or two people that are like really close to you, and you're together because a lot of your ideologies, your ways of being are very similar. But if you try doing that even with like five people, and let's say you're yourself 80% of the time, forgive me for being someone interested in quantifying so much. um, I feel like that endangers you, and um, I think it's good, but feels unsafe. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I agree with you that if I really thought about it, for most people, you're probably gonna have something that rubs somebody else the wrong way within a group of 5 people.
Mhm.
So I think you are right about that, and um, that's just interesting. It's interesting to think about. Um,
Yeah. This is a small tangent, but on the same subject. What you said before made me think about it. Is I have been in, I would say, not a concerted effort, but I've just felt like it's the right sort of natural direction for me to be more myself than I've ever been lately. And it has been uncomfortable. And it's interesting how much it interacts with parts of you, just like everything is like you bring certain stuff, your stuff to the conversation, whatever it is, your past, the cultural elements that are integrated into your mind, what you feel like in the moment, physical feelings you have in the moment, all these things. But I feel like if I am very natural and somebody says something, I'm like, I feel differently, even though I come to it, if it's someone I'm close to, I come to it with love. It still feels uncomfortable for the other person and for me, and I know that, like, it feels more dangerous for me because I don't like conflict. Like, I want to get along, and I'm getting that you are the same, and in that sense.
yeah.
But I know my experience, and it sounds like you're doing this a little bit more too, but I'm not sure how similar it is to the way I'm doing it, but I am finding it's uncomfortable to be more myself. And so far it's worth it. But sometimes I'm like, this is not worth it because I just want to have a pleasant day and be safe, you know? So I can't tell what I'm saying right now, other than I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing because I feel like it deepens friendships to do that. But you deepen the friendship at the risk of almost feeling like you could lose it, because there's just an inherent threat somewhere in the back of your mind that if you're too much yourself, you could lose the other person.
I think I relate to that, and I think you're right that um, it's like I think of the concept, whether this is true or not. I think of the concept of a friend as somebody you can relax with,
Mhm.
and if you have conflict with a friend enough times, then it's hard to relax around
If you're like always
them.
fighting, yeah.
Yeah, you're just like, oh, I don't want to see this person. I'm gonna not be relaxed. What's the point of that?
Right.
And so I think that that's maybe part of the whole discussion is yeah, when is there too much growth in a series of months, or um how much growth is each person willing to do, how much energy does each person have, um how much does the other person feel like they need the other person um, in order to fight or work for that friendship. These are all things that are just coming up in my head. And yeah, I'm just off of your thought of, I don't want to fully be myself because I want to have a pleasant day.